Hello, what's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here. This is the weekly live stream. So, welcome. Thanks everyone for hopping on. I see we got a handful of folks on already. Please let me know if you could hear me. I think you probably can. I see the little green bar moving, and that tells me that the microphone hears me. Today, we're going to talk about the May 2022 Google update. We'll answer questions around it. I'll go over some broad points. I actually put a link in the description here so you could check out an episode of the podcast, The Doug Show, that I talked about the March update, the product review update, and published it, just a couple days ago. So like a week ago. So you can check that out, and I give some broad thoughts about that update and then talk broadly about the updates. So a couple people have emailed me and let me know the traffic's the same. They lost some. Some people have mentioned traffic's going up. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to take a look at what Google has told us, which, it's somewhat useless, but maybe you can learn something from it, and we'll talk about it. So let me know in the chat where you're from, if it's your first time on. Let me know if you were impacted by the update, if you went up or you went down, or there's no noticeable impact. Now, for me, the thumbnail for this video, I actually went and pulled a screenshot, and that's the actual traffic from one of my sites, and it's kind of on a growth trajectory. Fingers crossed, it doesn't look like the Google update had any impact at all. I'm currently publishing more content, so maybe that mutes things. The site's kind of growing. It's hard to tell, what's going on if it's on a growth trajectory. So, but that's me. Let me know in the chat. We'll talk all about it. And I see Alex in the chat. I got my WP Eagle shirt on right now, and I even moved the microphone strategically so that everyone can see this advertisement. I'm like continuing to point at this other side. It's over here. It's right here. So Alex sent this T-shirt over. It's pretty comfy. My wife was like, "Oh, where'd you get that T-shirt? It's pretty cool." So thanks, Alex. All right, let's get in here. John says your traffic went up in a week. That's cool. Congratulations. Godfrey's on here. What's up? Daniel's on as well. We have Sam. David from Philadelphia. Thanks for being one of the moderators. And we have Jethalal. Jethalal, what's up? Gaz is on. And of course, Alex, I think he's going live after this, which is great. It gives me a hard stop. Right, you're going live later, I think. Probably. Ariel's on. What's up? And sounds like Ariel says mostly a positive impact from the update, but many people I know were hit pretty bad. That's a bummer. So I'm just curious, if you were hit, let us know what you observe in the SERPs, especially like maybe there's a couple terms that we're bringing in a lot of your traffic. So I'm curious if you end up seeing sites that are, maybe they're bigger in scope. They have like more authority. Are they higher quality sites? Are they shittier sites? What do you see in the SERPs based on the shuffling around? And my thought is, Ariel, you mentioned that a lot of people were hit pretty bad. And there's 10 spots on the first page there. And I'm curious if those spots were taken over by some other people that are not in our network and we don't hear from them, because some people took over those spots. So I'm just curious about that. We got Mighty Duck on here too. Jeff, I'll just say Jeff, impacted your site initially, but now things are coming back to normal. Okay, that's cool. Wasim is on, and Bengi, you were hit pretty bad. What to do? Okay. And Bengi said site traffic went down by 50%. What's going on, Zach? Chris says traffic down 80%, had some core web vital issues simultaneously, but those are being resolved. Okay. Very good. And I got some couple emails that were sent. I'm going to share those. I made them anonymous, but I'll share those in a second. Quick shout out to a couple sponsors. I'd love to get this out of the way. I know a lot of people watch the replay. Thanks for people watching the replay. We got Otis Global, the source for aged premium domains. I'm going to play an ad from them pre-recorded earlier. We also have Ezoic and their product Leap. It'll help your site load faster, Core Web Vitals. They have a lot of other products, a lot of other cool things that you can use. You can get into Ezoic without any page view minimums. So as soon as you create your website, you can start the ball rolling. Check out the Access Now link in the show notes. And the niche website builders, you can get 10% more content for content subscription. If you buy a done for you site, you can get more content. And if you get one of their link building services, you can get a 10% discount. All right. So niche website builders, I'm also working with them on a case study where we're publishing 200,000 words of content on a site, and you could follow along with that stuff. Okay. A lot of chat in the chat. So let's see what's happening out there. Okay. To it. Okay, Ariel says, yeah, someone has to have this spot. So I'm really curious, like where the shuffling is. If, like I said, if it's just like a different set of people or these big ass sites, so like no one knows who they are because it's like a corporation or something like that. Chris says electronics information affiliate site. It seems like brand name companies have taken over some slots. And Christopher says, when did you guys go down and then now up again in the same area? Okay. Good question. Daniel says, I didn't really notice a change, but it's made me wonder if I could start another site so I can spread the risk rather than just building one mega site in hopes that only the one site is affected. So this is an age-old debate. There were Greek philosophers talking about should we work on one site or more than one site, spread the risk. I still argue to just focus on one site. Hear me out. We can have lively debate on this. So I say still focus on the one site. The idea is, for me, like you're thinking you're spreading your risk, but I think if you're building sites in the same way with the same sources of traffic, you still have the same risk. It could be kind of unlikely that all of your sites would take a hit all at once, but it can happen, especially if you're building the sites in the same way. And I think we'll hear this on WP Eagle's live stream later, but it sounds like a couple of his sites, and Alex, you can confirm this, a couple of your sites have taken a hit, like more than one, right? So not only, Daniel, would you be spreading your focus in different areas, but instead of just having one of the sites go down, you can have like multiple go down and you're like, what am I even working on? So my thought is if you actually want to spread your risk, you would need to use a different business model, or you would need to use a different traffic source so that you're actually diversified. But if you're diversified all in the same like area with the same techniques and the same ideas and the same methods, are you really diversified? Well, that's something for you to decide. I can't obviously tell you what to do. And that's why those Greek philosophers were debating whether you should work on one site. This was thousands of years ago. They didn't even have sites back then. Zach says one site's up 20% from the update, one down. So the one that's hit also got hit by the snippet ban last year. Oh, that's a bummer. And Cyprian says that the May core update, more like May snippet downgrade. Okay. And then we got Gaz saying the core web vitals were okay, but used Smush this week to optimize your images, and it made a big difference. Very cool. And SB is on, and I'll make a quick request if people are able to hit the thumbs up. That'll be awesome. And even if you're watching the replay later, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment. It helps out, all that kind of stuff. All right, and Cyprian says traffic is up by 20% on a 6-month-old site. That's pretty awesome. What's up, Joanne? And then we have Sonia says, weirdly, the impressions decreased by 30%, but clicks only fell by 100, and the purple line downhill is scary. So I had a recent question come in, and I think hopefully the person that asked this is still on here. But if your impressions go down, but your positions went up, and this is not exactly what you're saying, Sonia, but if you have your impressions go down, but your position average goes up, it could be that you are not ranking, right? You're not showing up as an impression for a lot of sort of long tail terms. Maybe you weren't ranking very high for some of these, and you're not ranking at all. So those drop off. So effectively they are not considered anymore. And then your average rankings, your impressions went down. So is it the numerator or the denominator? Anyway, the point is your position average will go up because you're ranking for fewer terms, and the ones that you are ranking for, they're ranked pretty well. So the ones that weren't ranking as well dropped off altogether. Now, the thing is, you may have still gotten some long tail traffic from those impressions. So, okay. Jeff says they are targeting 2 to 3 old affiliate sites. Okay. Larkin says, my site is up 15%. It's a noticeable bump. No idea if it's core update related. And Larkin agrees with John from Fat Stacks, saying that the same thing on his blog, advocating building one big site at least until it gets big. Cool. That's great. All right. Rupesh says, hello, Doug. I want to ask you that if a site hit by the Google core update like May 2020, like the one in May, then we need to start on that blog to recover or start a new blog. Well, this is a good question here. Like many of the answers that I'll give today and that I have in the past, it's not conclusive. You will have to make your own decision. Some people want to keep working on their site, particularly if it's maybe like a passion. Maybe it's a hobby. It's something that you're going to be interested in the future. You're going to be working on that kind of content anyway, and you're happy with it. So keep working on it. Recover the site. Do your thing, Think about the end user and work on your site. If maybe you were just kind of getting started, I know there's a handful of people that started a site. You were getting some traction. I feel like maybe Daniel, you've been on a lot of these live streams lately. Daniel, your site's fairly young. You got the ball rolling. You're learning a couple things, but you always make mistakes on those kind of early sites. You don't know what you're doing. Maybe you goof up the theme or a plugin or something, right? You structured it in a weird way. So if that's the case, and the niche and the topic area was kind of arbitrary, there's nothing wrong at all with starting another site. Now, I just told you to just work on one site. There's pros and cons. So if it's a site and you're like, I've fucked up on a couple things, I'll start a new one. I understand things. I actually found some really good keywords and something that I am passionate about. Maybe you do start a new site. The thing is, and we'll look at the documentation that Google has shared with us here, it's kind of inconclusive. It's like, think about the end user. We want to have good results, high quality content, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of the same guidelines as before. So it's not really helpful. It's not like the updates from 2012, 2014, where that it's related to like on-page optimization, or it's because you have a shitty backlink profile. These are more holistic. I don't know what word, but it's more, broad, non-specific, generally not helpful. So there's no like one thing you can do to recover. And I recently-ish interviewed Marty McLeod, and he talked about a site that I think it took a 30% traffic hit. And then he spent a few months improving the content, optimizing things, putting, I think, new images up, and just overhauling things, really trying to improve the website. And he was able to recover back to like 90%-ish of where he was. So, pretty good recovery. He spent a lot of time on it. Now, would his time have been better spent on a brand new site? I don't think so. I think he worked really hard to recover a site that was already, had some good momentum, it had traffic, he was earning money. If he started a brand new site, then he'd potentially still be in the sandbox. And that effort actually was a better ROI on the existing site, even though maybe it wasn't as exciting to work on the same site, reviewing the same content and just kind of iterating on that. People like to start new things. It's kind of fun. So, very long answer to not really answer your question, but hopefully I gave you some context to think about, Rupesh. Guy says, hopefully Apple will launch their search engine. Amal says, your site's down 50%. Sorry to hear that. SB says your site's down 30%. Some of the product posts were in the top 3. They're nowhere to be found. And others were on page 2, now ranking in the top 3. All right. And Cyprian says, oh no, Apple never demonstrated the ability to properly handle search. Bot Spotlight search and Apple Store search is blah, blah, blah. So I like the one challenge here, Cyprian, which honestly, I don't know shit about Apple's previous search endeavors. I don't have an issue with Spotlight, by the way, on like my Mac and whatever. But, they have pretty smart engineers. I'm certain they could come up with like some alternative that's, good enough that we can use. And okay, quick question. The chat's awesome today. I'm curious. Fuck, I don't even know if I should say it here, but all right, I'll do it. Everyone is very excited about these AI writers. Is there any correlation? People that had issues with this last update, did you use AI writers? Anyone that uses AI writers specifically, is traffic up? Is traffic down? I don't know if I should have even said anything. Thanks for the folks that hit the thumbs up there in the last minute. But let me know if you're using AI writers, what happened on your site? Someone let me know. I bet my guess is it hit everything across the board, some up, some down. I bet there's a couple people that use AI writers and they got a traffic bump. All right, Robinson, hello. Sonia says, is the update still rolling out? And I think now would be a decent time. I think I can share my screen here. Oh. So here is, here's a couple people that sent emails over to me. And by the way, you can sign up for my email list. There's a link in the description. This person said your 2.5-year-old site was hit. Let's zoom in on this so it's not so small. Lost 60% of the traffic and it had a lot of info content. Okay, so that kind of sucks. This person says no change across any of the sites yet. Okay, that's cool. And then this person has a 50% drop. So not awesome. And let's hop over to this other screen. Does this work? Nope, that's wrong. That's me frozen there. This one. Okay, so this was May 25th. So Google says they're releasing the May 2022 core update, and it'll take 1 to 2 weeks to fully roll out. And they make those changes to improve search overall and keep pace with the changing nature of the web. Not too specific. And let's see. It does say we'll update the blog post again to confirm that the rollout of May 2022 core update is complete. If you have any feedback, you can post it in the forum thread here, which I don't know, did anyone actually do anything with that? So a couple things here, and I'll jump back to the chat in a second. And I'll just read this out because I know it's really awesome to hear someone read. But it could be little, and some people are, they're on their phone, maybe driving or something. So this little gray box says, we confirm broad core updates because they typically produce some widely notable effects. Some sites may note drops or gains during them. We know that those with sites that experience drops will be looking for a fix, and we want to ensure they don't try to fix the wrong things. Moreover, there might not be anything at all to fix. So what do you do with that? So there's nothing wrong with pages that may perform less well in a core update. They haven't violated our webmaster guidelines, nor have been subjected to a manual or algorithmic action, as can happen to pages that do violate those guidelines. In fact, there's nothing in a core update that targets specific pages or sites. I will read that again. In fact, there's nothing in a core update that targets specific pages or sites. Instead, the changes are about improving how our systems assess content overall. These changes may cause some pages that were previously under-rewarded to do better. Okay, so yeah, what do we do with that? Well, I don't know either. Let's go back to the chat. Let's go back to the chat. I think I got a little bit behind here. So it does sound like, Sonia, the update could still be rolling out right now. I'm not sure. I think I saw someone in the chat mention it. And if so, I'm curious if, just the blog that I was on didn't show the update, even though maybe it's already done. I'm not sure. Okay, SB says, in general, my strategy is to de-risk by diversifying into info content, which is cool. However, my point before still stands. And I mean, publishing info content, a lot of people on here that are saying they lost traffic, like they literally have mostly info content. So SB, I'm curious, how is publishing info content versus, say, affiliate review content, how is it diversifying in a way that you won't get hit by core updates, for example? What's up, Andrew? All right, so Bongi says, same thing is happening with me. Average position is going up, but traffic is going down. And yes, many of the blog posts that were 7 to 12 have disappeared altogether. And SB says you're planning to improve existing posts instead of creating more of the same. Okay, cool. And Zach confirms there's no word from Google, so potentially this is still ongoing. Helen says, all of my sites are the same, not up, not down. All right. Okay, Rude Van Loo says one site is up 150%, and the second site is up 20%, and the one with 150 all of a sudden got lots of snippets in a short time. Damn, that's awesome. See, and that's the thing. Like, if a bunch of sites go down, then a bunch have to replace it somewhere from somewhere. So amazing. I'm curious about the site that had the 150% increase. What's the scope of that? Was it kind of a small site, so 150% is not like a huge number, or was it kind of a big site and now it's giant? All right, Daniel says, I'm learning loads from these lives, even going back to my old post from a few months ago, and I could see where I mucked up, and you've been able to improve it. Cool. That's awesome. It's good that these are paying off. And Jeff says, anyone notice if the URL removal tool is not working? Unsure. Yeah, feel free to let us know in the chat. SB says it's important to remember that content is not being penalized. Rather, more relevant content is going to the top, so there's always room for improvement. I don't think it's a good idea to start another site if that's what some people are considering. All right. Chris says, I understand and support Google wanting their service to give the users the best results possible. Hard to watch a project suffer like this, though. Yes, 100%. Okay, and Alex says there's no correlation. I think this is about the AI. There's no correlation with AI content and anything in the SERPs at all with this last update. And I think that sounds right, you know. I think that sounds right, but I literally have no data, but usually there's just, you know, randomness. And Alex says, you think the T makes the stream awesome. Cool. You know, I can get a few more of these maybe. I don't know. It looks good. It really, I try not to wear a black shirt because it's so dark behind me, but you know, I think it does look sharp. It looks good. Soft. If people have not ordered your own WP Eagle shirt, you should. You should do it. It's not sponsored. I just like the shirt. Alex is my friend. All right. Alex does say your site with AI is down, but yeah. Okay. All right. Now we're into the AI stuff. So Bengi said, yes, I did use an AI writer and my site is down. Cyprian says site is up. All original content, no AI. 80 posts in 4 months, all written by Cyprian. Cool. And Alex does say, you have seen some AI sites that are up. Okay. Yeah. I suspect it's just it's almost always across the board, you know. All right. And Godfrey says, one of my sites has suddenly grown. I strictly use AI writers on the site. Is this Godfrey from Jasper? You work at Jasper, right? Did you infiltrate the chat and you're spreading, you know, AI love out here? I'm just kidding. Godfrey. I'm sure you don't work there. All right. So Ariel says this. Oh, I love this. My test site, which is 100% AI unedited, is doing better than it ever has. And all the posts are KGR. So KGR and AI is the answer. Okay, this is interesting. This is interesting. Maybe we could figure something out here. This is a case study. This has case study written all over it. How old is the site, Ariel? All right, Gaz says, you hope the update penalizes the competitors that have crappy websites and crappy content, but are ranking because of their age. Yeah, I think, yeah, I could start promoting AI. The thing is, I have an interview coming out in a couple weeks where Bennett was able to rank a site using pretty much, all AI tools. The site's only like a month old. It doesn't get a ton of traffic, but it is getting some traffic. And that episode comes out in next week. So make sure you're subscribed to the Doug.Show podcast or the channel. You subscribe to the channel too. All right. Homework Help Online says you're getting a headache getting your site approved by Google. Any solution is eating. What do you mean approved by Google? For what? Let us know, Homework. Sports says ranking in those also sends authority to our sites too. I can't remember what we said. Ranking in, I don't know what, but yeah, we'll roll with it. We'll roll. All right. Guys says you spent some time this week checking your internal links, and the anchor texts have specific words in them, and that your images. Okay, so you're just doing some sprucing up. That's good. Rude says the 150% increase wasn't a huge site. It was getting 80 clicks, and now it's getting 200 per day. So it's still very nice. Yeah, very cool. And the thing is, when the sites are younger and they don't get as much traffic, you can have like crazy growth. But, if you're making $100 a month, it's not crazy to, triple it or 5x it in a few months. But if you're making 10K a month, it's much more difficult to even double the revenue. But still, going from 80 to 200, you like to see that kind of growth. All right. Poll says you had an 80% drop. It's all white hat. You never bought any links. You had 5 articles with Jasper. Okay. And then did you have how much other content did you have total? Poll. All right. Godfrey confirms that he's not from Jasper. Okay. Good. Although we welcome everyone here. So Palash says, I have researched your 2 sites, 10 to 20 posts, and have seen most competitors are weak. So you think it's a Google rank dance. Hopefully it will be normal. And Chris observes that if Godfrey was from Jasper, he would deny it. But I trust him. I don't think he's from Jasper. Okay. Kazi says, you found a hack for the update. Just request your articles again to re-index for Google search. I have what's your data on that? I have a hunch that won't do anything. So the thing is, if there was like any one easy fix, then everyone would do it and then it would not work. So I doubt it. So if you have any data to back it up, feel free to put it in. But I would say re-requesting and re-indexing it's not going to do anything. Okay, Homework says you want to get approved for ads to show. You want to enroll in Ezoic. Okay, so just, there's a link in the description for Ezoic. You could follow that, go along with the flow. They'll be able to advise you if there's any issues or anything like that. And Kasi says, what's with Google? J Paul is on. What's going on? Oh, and Paul says you had 200 articles and there were only 5 that were AI. So definitely unrelated. So Sports says, I've seen some correlation when Bing ranks content, then there's an improvement with ranking at Google. Okay, interesting. So let the questions keep on coming in here. I'm going to take a quick little break here, let my voice rest, and roll this ad from Otis. Here's a word from Otis Global. That's ODYS.global. And they're the source for premium age domains with strong branding and powerful backlinks. The featured domain for today is, I'm going to try to pronounce it, Adaplo, ADAPLO.com. And it was a domain that automated Google Ads and the campaign management tool targeted at e-commerce marketers. So pretty niche kind of tool. And the site was focused on the product itself and didn't have any supporting informational articles. It's back from 2015 and it is a fairly reasonable price. It's under $2,000 at this point in time. So yeah, it's back from 2015, 7 years old. Domain rating as reported by Ahrefs is 26. And the domain authority is also 26. So it's a pretty brandable name, although I don't know that it has a specific meaning or anything like that. But it is something that you could build on top of. So if you do, well, like all age domains, of course, you could build on top of it. So there's a the SaaS tool that serves the market, and if you actually had a SaaS tool that was specifically in competition with this old site or this old tool, then you could jump right in. Alternatively, if you were sort of like an ad manager type, or maybe you work at a marketing agency, or maybe you have a marketing agency, this could be an interesting site to pull on because then you could sell your services. Of course, from a content standpoint, you could write tons of informational content about running ads. You could branch out into like broad marketing topics, email marketing, just digital marketing, and you could promote relevant digital courses as well. There's a ton of backlinks out here. We have 93 referring domains. About 66 of those are do follow. We're talking medium.com, SEMrush, Magento, Product Hunt, Write.com, Clipfolio, Warrior Forum. Oh, that site's still around, huh? So there's a bunch of others out here, and there are lots of branded anchor text out there, still indexed in Google. And if you join Otis using my affiliate link, you can get $100 into your account. And if you buy something, I might get a commission. So thanks a lot to Otis Global for sponsoring. And let's get back to the show. All right. So even if you're not going to purchase anything from Otis, hop over there, follow the link, send them a message, and let them know that you appreciate the support for the live streams and the podcast and stuff like that. So we got some other questions popping up. Let's see. All right. So Kazi says, how much daily traffic is good for applying for Ezoic? And basically, they will take anyone. There's no page view minimum specifically, but Cyprian does mention that certain, if you're getting a handful of page views, you mentioned 1,000 page views is good, but you don't nearly have to have that much traffic. But, if you're getting a few hundred page views per day, I would say that's probably fine. It's enough to get the ball rolling, and you can start using the tools and see what content on your site is earning the most. And one thing that you can do is create other content that is similar to the content that's earning the most, so that you can sort of optimize based on earnings with real data from your site. So, like certain things are working well and you should do more of it. Godfrey says, you notice that many articles on your old site were de-indexed. Can requesting them to be indexed improve things? So technically, yes. If you have them re-indexed, that might help. I've heard a lot of people mention that. However, I've done a little bit of research on this, and Google tells us some things. It's hard to sift through some of it, right? Like we just read the update about this core update in May, but there's nothing really actionable from it. So the point is, Google has stated, and I think on Twitter or maybe a live stream as well, that if your site has content that's indexed and then de-indexed and other things become indexed. And there's kind of a revolving door. Things that were indexed and ranking fall off. The statement that was made is generally around like your content is not worthy for some reason. Maybe they don't think it's high quality enough. Maybe it's really high quality, or you think it's really high quality, but for some reason it's kind of rolling in and out. Now, I'm curious, Godfrey, do you have many links going to your site? Because one observation that I have that is anecdotal is that people that have very few or no backlinks going to their site, no high quality backlinks. So it's almost normal for spammy links to show up. But basically people and sites that don't have any links, or very few links going to their site seem to have more issues with indexing. And if you have links going to your site, you don't worry about it and things get indexed really quickly. So I'm just curious about that. But your question, if you re-index those pages and manually submit them, will it help? It might, but there's probably some other issue going on. So it would only be a temporary fix at best. Andrew says, you have seen a 50% increase in traffic. All 85 pieces of content are painstakingly written. Cool. Good to see. Kazi doesn't like AI, says it's bad. Gaz says, it's anecdotal, but why does Google roll out updates with bugs? I think it could be one of those deals where, number one, I don't know, but they don't know what's going to happen until it's out on real data. That said, there's no reason, right? Let's think about this from a software perspective. There's no reason they couldn't have a test environment with a duplication of whatever the actual database is, right? And then they test the algorithm on that. So guys, maybe you're right. Why don't they test this ahead of time? Now, maybe they need more data for the inputs, but couldn't they just take the historical data from like the previous 2 months and pump it in and then see what happens? I'm with you on this. I think this is a testable thing, but maybe it's just cheaper and easier to roll out the update. Who are they really hurting? Any of their customers? Maybe not. They're not actually hurting any of their customers, which are the advertisers, right? So all of us that have websites out there, we're not really the customers at all. Jason says, are you actively applying schema on any sites? No, I am not. Daniel says that he was able to get on Ezoic with basically no views. Cool. Good data point. Cyprian says, my blog is 7 months old, on target for 4,000 page views this month. You have an article written in month 3 that's getting 1,000 page views right now. Any chance it can get even more than this? Generally, probably yes. I would say sure. There's no reason it can't. One thing that you can look at is just the number of searches, the search volume, right? So use a tool and you can see the long tail keywords that people are searching for. You can find the fat tail keywords, and it's not going to tell you how much traffic that you're going to get. But if you see that there's like many thousands of searches in related areas, then sure, you can get a lot of traffic. And you further say, like when the article is 1 year old, is there a chance Google is still keeping it in the sandbox now? Potentially, but yeah, there's no traffic can go up even higher. I mean, let's say it's something that's trending up. there's a good chance, even if it doesn't go up in rankings or anything like that, that it potentially can grow in traffic and page views. So yes, it can. Sony says you're just going to publish on focus. You're just going to focus on publishing content every day. All right, and Cyprian says, like your other articles that are 2 to 6 months old, they get 100 to 300, and I know it takes 6 to 8 months for an article to reach 90% of its page views, give or take. So is there a chance the article can go even higher? Yeah, totally. Yep, it can. And the thing is, all this is sort of, these are good benchmarks, right? I don't know if this is accurate, but it gives people an idea, right? So 6 to 8 months for the site to get 90% of its maximum page views. I don't know where you got those stats. I don't disagree with that specifically, but I wouldn't take it as gospel. Like some people are like, well, it's 90%. Or like when people look at search volumes and they're like, well, it gets 938 searches per month. So if I rank number 2 and position number 2 gets, 24% of the clicks, then I should get X amount of traffic. And you're using precise numbers that are estimates, but they're just estimates. So if you're using that sort of precision, it's kind of meaningless. But the general idea is correct. It takes a few months, like 6-12 months for the page to mature. There's a bunch of other factors, like let's say you're building backlinks to that specific page also. Well, that's going to impact it too. All right. Constantine says you got hit a little bit. The site got hit, but the site's still in the sandbox and it bounced back 20 clicks per day. Cool. And Cyprian says, all right, thank you, keeping your fingers crossed. Yeah. And the thing is, once you publish the content, you go back and improve it. And that's like been, a lot of discussion lately here where, you go back and you improve the content, you add more FAQs, you add new products, you maybe beef up a mini product review if there's, new changes or something like that, or a new model comes out, you can go update it there. And Sports Story says, no, we are not the customers for Google. Lately, we're the competitors. To support your argument, search the term internet speed test in kicking Ookla, I don't know how you say it, overnight from rank number 1. Yeah, for sure. There's all these little tools. I record a podcast called Mile High Five. There's a link in the description here. But we record interviews sometimes, and I sit back there with my co-host. And one thing I realized is, it's really good to have, like, especially if we're interviewing people over here, and it's like 10 feet away. Like if I walk over here. And we can't see the screen very well. We don't have clocks around here. So I was like, we should put a stopwatch. And I have 2 screens here. So there's a screen up here. And I put it full screen, start a stopwatch. The thing is, if you look for an online stopwatch, I'm sure there were sites that were earning lots of money with stopwatch and timers and different little time-related things. Very simple websites. And now there's a tool for Google that's just a stopwatch. So I actually use that. It's clean. There's no ads or other kind of bullshit on there. But yeah. And I have used the Google speed test, but I do like the Ookla one overall. All right. What other questions do we have out there? So it sounds like, if I didn't tally this up, it sounded like there were maybe a handful more, maybe like 60% of the people that answered if their site was impacted. I'll change that. Maybe it was about 50% said their sites are down. I think maybe 40%. Yeah, 40% said their sites are up. And then I think the remaining 10 said no impact. From the data that I see, it seems like most of the sites and people that I know are pretty much even. I do have an update, an interview with Christy, someone who's been on the channel many times. And she has had, more of a static / flat year so far here in 2022. So I'm curious. I have no idea if she got a little bit of a boost. And the thing is, I think she took a little bit of a hit back in December of last year. So it'll be interesting if she jumped back up. One observation that many of us have is that these updates will come out and your site will take a hit, and then you don't do anything. You don't do anything different. You don't go on a quest to improve the content. Next update comes out 6 months later. You jump back up to where you should have been if you had the same growth trajectory. A few months later, next update comes out. Nothing happens. A few months later, another update, you take a hit then, and it's just kind of an up and down situation. I've seen that quite a lot. And it's mind-boggling. It's like you're just shuffling things around. It doesn't seem like there's much of a reason for it at all. All right, so as we are hanging out here, any other questions? Now, before we wrap it up, I do have my WP Eagle shirt here. This is embroidered. I don't know, if you all can see. It's really quite nice. Alex should send me a mug. Everyone, when you go over to watch his, tell him to send me a mug. All right. I drink stuff all the time. Does he have pint glasses? Drink beer a lot. So, I was going to say something else. Oh, yeah. I have these pretty awesome updates coming out for this case study. So it's a site that's been around for like a year and a half. Oh, actually, it's coming up on 2 years now. But I started publishing more content working with niche website builders. So there's several updates, and there's a couple of YouTube videos. There's going to be more coming out. I'm going to cover stuff like keyword research, some of the link building stuff that we went through, and just a few more details. But there's a couple Doug.Show Podcast episodes. There's some YouTube videos. Check those out. So it's a site that's been around for a little bit, but we're pumping it full of content. And it's really cool to see, number one, the content get indexed really quickly, but also get traffic within a matter of days. So pretty amazing. Now let's get a couple more of these questions here. Sonia says, you feel like you're stuck at 30,000 sessions. You've been trying to get to 50K, so you could apply for Mediavine. Any tips? So it always comes down to like two areas, content and link building. And if you're at a spot where you are getting traffic, you're ranking for some stuff, I would do this for a quick sort of result. Find your top 20% of your traffic in terms of like which pages they are, which landing pages. So top 20% of your traffic, we're going to 80-20, right? So top 20% of your traffic, those are the pages that are getting the majority of the traffic already. So I would go and improve that content. Start at the top. Look at the title, see if there's anything you can do to improve the clickability of that title. Look through the content. You can add FAQs. That's super effective. You can hop over to Google and look for the related searches and see if you're able to add either supporting articles, maybe short form supporting articles. Think of it as a content cluster popular idea. You might find that it's sort of a smaller related search, and then you could make that a subheading in the existing article. Add more images. Original images are best if possible. They could be something that you take a picture of yourself. It could be an original sort of image that you create using something like Canva, which is, you could just use the free version, but adding more images and just making it like a richer piece of content can help. Like I said, you can add more content in the form of, content cluster kind of things. And that potentially will help boost what you're ranking for already. Again, you're trying to find what's working and then make it better. Google already likes that content. I said 20% just to keep it simple. I don't know how much content is on your site, but if you're able to do 30%, right? Or maybe you have a different sort of spread and distribution of traffic, but you can look at it that way too. What you don't want to do is get overwhelmed. So let's say you have 200 articles on your site. If you're like, oh no, I have to go and work on 200 posts, that's a lot. But if you look at the top 20 posts, that's manageable. If you look at the top 30, also manageable. You can layer it on, right? You could focus on the top 20 and prioritize those first and then move down. Of course, you could always publish more content. All right. Sports Story says, just putting your tinfoil hat on. Love it. All the latest changes have impacted e-commerce sites. Maybe Google is pushing their shopping thing. Who knows? Yeah, who knows? All right. Thanks, Robin. You said you will do. I'm not sure what I said, but I appreciate it. Chris is heading out. All right. See you, Chris. And with that, I think we're good for the day. Thanks, everyone, for hopping on. Good session today. Thanks, everyone, for sharing information. It's great that we're able to, share the ideas and hear what's going on with other folks here. Sounds like a blend. And they're like normal. There's no specific thing that we know of that we can do. Sounds like quite a few sites were hit. Quite a few sites got more traffic, and a bunch of us are kind of holding steady wherever we were. Sounds like the update's still rolling out at this point in time. We haven't quite hit 2 weeks yet, but we're coming up pretty close. It was May 25th is when they made the announcement. So I'm going to hop over to watch Alex's live stream while I scarf down some lunch, take a little break here.